Okay, so we are actually up here in a secondary bedroom. We're waiting for the light to get a little bit better down in the kitchen. We're still waiting for that nice golden light. It's about 3 o'clock and things are a little bit dreary outside. So what do you do when you're waiting for the great light to happen? You've got a bit of an overcast and you've got to make some interesting shots of secondary and tertiary rooms. Well, I've been operating mostly with natural light today, but I'm going to introduce a little bit of flash to spice up these rooms and add a little mustard to these photographs. So far I've been photographing this house with just using all natural light, and I could do that here, but it would require getting here at 6 a.m. and then sacrificing probably what would be a better shot elsewhere to get a secondary bedroom. Well, what if I want similar light, but I have to do it in the middle of the day? Well, we're going to add a little flash into the mix today and spice it up. So behind me, we just have this blank wall. I think the composition could be fairly obvious. There might be a couple different ways you could take it, but one thing is for certain, we want the windows and any view that way. So we're gonna have our camera over here in this corner, photographing across the bed out the windows. Obviously, if there are no windows in the frame, adding light isn't really gonna do anything. So we wanna make sure that we do have windows so that when we do add light, we can actually see it coming into the shot. Standing in the door is probably the most obvious, straightforward composition as it shows the size of the room, the bed placement, the patio out the door, and it gives us a few options for adding light, again, to kick up this photo a little bit and take it from something relatively boring to something a bit more interesting. What we have here is a relatively flat, dull image. There's not a lot of color, not a lot of contrast. Hopefully by adding light, we'll significantly improve this in a very quick and easy way. So the lens on here is the 24mm tilt shift, and right now we are a little bit wide, but that's okay. I can crop a little bit in post and I think it'll be just perfect. So I'm gonna put the trigger on the camera and let's see what we can do to make this photo better. So we're outside and the plan is to take this flash and replicate the direction and angle of the sun. Now, the sun rises right over there. You can use the Sun Surveyor app to verify that. So we are in the realm of realism, which I like. We're not egregiously faking anything. And I'm gonna have Colleen hold this above her head. We're just gonna keep it simple at first. And we're gonna blast some light right through the doorway and this window over here on my right-hand side to give the bedroom a little bit of texture, a little bit of mood, and a little bit of color. All right, Colleen, get the light up high. A little bit of an improvement, but we can do better. I don't feel that the color of the light accurately matches the sun at that time of day. So I'm gonna have Colleen put a 1/2 CTO gel on the light and warm it up. Okay, so she has the CTO gel on there and I'm gonna do a few test shots and see how that comes out. All right, so this to me looks really good. There's a few little issues here and there that we can fix in post when we blend these images together. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna run a bracket of 5 shots from my base exposure and go 2 stops down and 2 stops up. I'm gonna make sure that I turn the flash off and only do this using ambient light. My settings for this are ISO 200, f11, and the shutter speed has been varying depending on the flash. Okay, so we have everything we need. Let's go put this together in post-production. All right, let's put this guy together. We have, oh no, someone in the reflection. In every picture. I didn't even notice that on location. It's the first thing I see here in post-production, so that'll be fun to take out. Is he? No, he's not there in the rest. All right, so we've got our brackets here, and I think we're gonna actually use like a significant number of these. This could be a tricky one with how bright things are. And we have our flash frames, and I'm gonna just look at these flash frames and see which one I like here on the big screen the most. And what I'm looking for is I want the most coverage, and sort of like we did in that kitchen earlier, we're gonna cheat a little bit, and I'm gonna draw a very subtle sort of line, a diagonal with that light to make it appear as if the light is, the sun is rising over there or something, and the light's coming across the room. So I'm looking at the foreground, I'm looking at that bed. I love the textures. Like this one feels like it's just too high on the bed. This one feels a lot better. And the third one, yeah, I think this one, the second shot here, That's going to be my the light that I'm going to use, and I'm going to build that up on top of these other shots. So I'm going to go highlights, shadows. I'm going to do that on everything here. And I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 4. I doubt I'll use this one. We'll go with these 4 images into Photoshop. Okay, here we are in Photoshop, my favorite place. There's another person in the reflection. Oh my goodness. What has happened here? There's people all over the place in my shots. Anyway, I'm going to hide my flash layer for now. I'll rename it so I can find it in a minute. Flash. And let's see, I'll call this one dark, mid, surprise, surprise, bright. And I'm going to start building on this image here. So what I've got is it's kind of a darkish ambient exposure. I want to make sure that the flash, when I layer it in, if the ambient exposure is brighter than the flash isn't going to show up. So you need to make sure that your base exposure is darker than your streak of light. So that's something to keep in mind. So I want to pull back some detail in that door, first of all. And what's kind of going to be a PETA here is that the door moved. So rather than just do a luminosity mask or anything else like that, I'm going to have to get in here. I'll use the pen tool. And I'm going to cut out the entire door here. And I'm going to add a mask to that. And as you can see, that looks kind of goofy. We're going to have to clean that up. So what I'm going to do is take a brush. What happened over here? This edge is pretty rough looking, isn't it? So, let's see if that looks better. I'm going to add 50% opacity here. Better, but not great. Oh, I hate it. You know what I'm going to have to do? I'm not going to do it yet, but at the end, I'm just going to clone that out and clean it up. It's happening because there's such a stark difference between inside and outside in these two exposures. You know what? Maybe I can just paint it out. Maybe I'm going too big with my mask here. And I need to be more like in here. That looks a lot better. That looks way better. All right, existential crisis averted. And if as soon as you try to blend that in, it gets weird down here. So I'm gonna add a curves adjustment. It feels a little bit too dark right now. I'll clip it. And I'm just going to brighten that up. I don't want to lose detail, but I want it brighter. So like right there is probably good. And the door feels good now. All right. This I find super distracting, but I'm not going to worry about that yet. Let's get our flash painted in. And I'm going to put that underneath here. So that, see the difference in exposure here? I'll put that underneath the dark layer. I'm going to change the blend mode first to lighten. All right, so, and I'm going to add a mask. Now, I'm going to kind of paint out some of this excess flash layer, and our film crew's tripod is over there. And I just want to, I'm going to get rid of all that extra ceiling. I want that to feel more like it's, there we go. When I come down with it, it makes more sense. I want this, sort of beam of light to come across and match the direction that the sun would follow. So that's looking a lot better. I do feel like that light should be a bit warmer. That light's streaming in. So again, I'm just kind of chiseling this out like that, trying to make it a very obvious, again, beam of light coming through the room. I'm going to add a solid color adjustment layer. I'm going to clip it to that flash layer. I'm going to make it nice and orange, a little warm. Click OK. Clip it to that layer. Now, obviously, this is super goofy. I'm going to go to like 5% opacity. Oh, you see where I'm going with this? Overlay. That is beautiful. I don't think I need that flash against the, there we go. I'm going to paint in a little shadow down here. And now we have this warm streak of light. We had to gel it, but like I guess it wasn't warm enough because it's a big difference here in post-production. But that's looking really good. I feel like this needs to be a little bit brighter if I want to get away with this. With this scheme I got going. That looks nice. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take this color fill layer and I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to put it out the window as well. And warm up some of that light outside. There we go. All right, let's fix this window. Would it be crazy to just copy this? Because I find that reflection so jarring. And it makes a good lesson, but I'll be honest with you. I think I had just gotten into a bit of a tiff with the F-Stoppers guys filming this picture because they were making me work too hard. Let's see how we can get this in here. Keep it looking good. I'm going to adjust the opacity. I'll go to 50% and make sure that everything lines up where I want it. Like there-ish. Okay. I'll just lasso this. Full opacity and layer mask. Our windows are fixed. I'm gonna sell this a little bit better. Like it looks like I copied and pasted them. So I'm just gonna take some of this greenery and clone it a little bit so it's not so obvious. Like that. And I'll do it here. All right, that helps significantly. And lastly, there's a little bit of blue. I'm just gonna suck that out with a hue and saturation adjustment in the foreground and behind that plant over there. Grab my little slider, blues, pull you guys out. And that's looking pretty good. Did that do anything I didn't want it to do? Oh, it's looking great. Do I have a frame without anyone in it? In that window? We'll jump back into Lightroom and take a look. And this, among other reasons, is why I always bracket. Because you never know when you need to save yourself from yourself. So yeah, this brightest frame has it. So I'm going to grab this and bring that into Photoshop. So I'm just going to go ahead and lasso this, copy it, and paste it into my working document. I will go ahead and call this painting fix, and I'm going to use the difference blend mode to line this up perfectly. So difference, and what this will do, it will basically invert one layer, and it will, there you go. You can see when the layer below is different, it gives you that sort of inverted color, and it locks into place at the pixel level when you nail it. You can see when I'm not lined up, I get that funky coloring. But when I nail it, boom, perfect. All right, blend mode, normal. Obviously this is way too bright, so I'm just gonna add a curves layer and darken until things look like they're gonna be a match. It's going to be somewhere in there. I haven't got the colors perfect, but that's okay. I'll go ahead and take a lasso. I'm just going to go for the inside of the painting. And there it is. I'm going to drop this underneath the hue and saturation layer. Make sure I consistently suck the blues out of this shot. So lastly, there's just a couple quick clones that I'm going to do, and we'll go back into Lightroom and finish this off. All right, here is our image back in Lightroom. I'm going to go ahead and crop out these wires down here on the left. That seems fairly obvious. And I'm going to come in on the right a bit. I don't need that third wall. Come up. And I like the height, so I'll go ahead and hit enter. I'm going to clean this up. This is like a footprint or something. I don't know. There's a little piece of fake plant down there. That looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and add a little contrast, a little texture, clarity, and there is our finished image. Let's go back on location and get the next one.